What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll be talking about the XRP price chart while taking a broader look at the cryptocurrency market as prices still continue to move along in this range. Really nothing developed here over the last day or two, as we're still kind of waiting to see if we're going to get a flush to come out of here or some type of liquidation happen in here that draws price down about 10% to kind of complete and finish off this range, or if there's just some type of catalyst that shows up. Either way, however we look at it, we're just super deep into the range that we're in right now and just kind of waiting for these last things to kind of play out. Now, one thing that's been interesting is I was also looking over here at the XRP versus Bitcoin price chart. Now, my thoughts are the top of the XRP versus Bitcoin price chart resides somewhere up in here, and that this is a Wyckoff accumulation range that has happened in here, that this is your automatic rally, your secondary test in phase B, followed by spring. Then we've shifted back up to the top of the range, and we're trying to work on a sign of strength to try to emerge in here. I've shown you that through like the lens of Binance Coin, like with what we dealt with back in 2023, where we had the spring come down here. You move back up in here to the peak of this range. You struggle out and then finally go for the break. Same idea over here. We've gotten back to the top of the range. We're just trying to work our way to go for that break. But it was conceptually the same stuff down here too, right? You had your selling climax followed by your automatic rally. Then you go in for your secondary test and spring, just like we have over here. You guys have seen these many times throughout this YouTube channel. Essentially, selling climax, automatic rally, secondary test in phase B, followed by your spring, and then trying to get through your sign of strength to actually get an actual breakout to happen in here. And that my thoughts are is that we're heading back to this area, and that this accumulation that's been happening here since the beginning of December ultimately will lead to a move to the upside. So in this video, we'll kind of go through two different things. We'll again revisit these ranges. We'll show how they're so close to their endings. And then we'll kind of look for some confluences to see how high prices could end up going if we do end up getting a breakout. There's a lot of structures it could take to do that. It could take months for something like this to play out, but we'll kind of pinpoint, what could be the top. And everybody enjoys doing that. So I'll show you the things that I'm constantly looking at as I'm constantly questioning it. Is it $8? Is it $9? Is it 11? Is it higher? I'll show you the confluences that I see that really point to kind of like that $9 to $11 area. But of course, all those things or price targets don't matter until we can at least start to see this range start to break. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll start looking at this range and the range development that's happened here. When we just look at XRP in US dollar terms with these ranges, still there tends to be that flush that happens in there. I'm just kind of patiently waiting on it. Either we're going to have the flush or we're going to have a catalyst, something arrive. I won't beat you up too much with this because we've covered it a lot on the last several videos, but you can kind of see where we are. The one thing just kind of missing in this range is that flush. One of the examples I gave you yesterday was with Ethereum and just showing the structure of what happens with the crash, retrace, reaccumulation, breakout, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, breakout. We tend to have these things before a liftoff can occur. So just like everybody else, I'm kind of just like twiddling my thumbs waiting and saying, are you going to show up? Now, one thing that is interesting when it comes to the XRP versus Bitcoin price chart is the structure that showed up in here. If you recall, we were really looking at this structure. This is from XRP back in 2017. I've pointed to this one several times. I've also compared it to HBAR, what HBAR looks like right now as well. And while XRP still looks like an absolutely standard range that eventually breaks to the upside, one could argue Wyckoff accumulation happening in here as well. It just didn't exactly mirror this right here from 2017. But what's really fascinating is that it absolutely has over here on the XRP Bitcoin price chart that it ABCs, then it starts entering into Wyckoff accumulation. Then we enter into these phases like so, finally coming in for a conclusion and then ramping back up, then coming in for a conclusion and ramping back up. And now, once again, just like all the other ranges we've seen, pointing that we're really in that last phase of this range, even on the XRP Bitcoin price chart. Not just the actual US dollar price chart for XRP, but versus Bitcoin as well. So it's just a kind of patience game right now as we're near the end of it. The positive thing of this is it's not being like, hey, look, we're or months out for something happening, you can just see it. It's been like a month and a week long range in each of these. We're all in these final phases. And even if you wanted to be like, hey, this is Wyckoff accumulation happening in here, overlay your Wyckoff on top of here, right? There's your automatic rally. There's your secondary test. There's your secondary test in phase B. Now heading into your spring, or the other version, your last point of support, which doesn't actually go and set the new low. I favor this because we've seen it. We've been reacting like that. But regardless, even from a Wyckoff accumulation standpoint of the selling climax to the automatic rally, as you have, and your secondary test in phase B, you're just in that last one, right? Regardless of which one you want to believe in. And I favor this. I favor LPS. Yet, however, if you were to do this, it would have a target of around $2.12 if it did a full move in here. So 12% or so. We'll see if it ends up panning it out. I'm not too concerned of it. I'm more of just excited and twiddling my thumbs as I'm like, hey, I can make all different ranges. I can create Wyckoff accumulation schematics. No matter which type of range I'm looking at, if I'm looking at the USD version, if I'm looking at the versus Bitcoin version, all of them show me I'm right at the end of an accumulation schematic, no matter which one I'm looking at. So, this thing doesn't point to months. It doesn't point to weeks. It points to days. And so the goal is just kind of being patient until that can pan itself out. Now, once a breakout does come, so long as one does, I do think it could take months to actually get to the very top. I think we are just days away from this range concluding itself, but it usually does take, several weeks to months to be able to get all the way up to the peak. If you did something along that manner, well, maybe not, but I don't think we'll move at that velocity. But I think it's a good exercise to kind of just once again kind of reiterate what it's going to be like for me when we get higher, right? I've been making YouTube videos talking about XRP for over 5 years. I'm in my 6th year, and the discussion has always been 4.236 extension. And when we get there, I'm quite sure people are going to be screaming, no, 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 I came here for much more than that. How could you? And that's just kind of how markets go. It's how people just tend to react. But it really, any kind of idea I come up with, it still just lands me there. The only way it ever does anything absurdly bigger than that is just following something like that and doing something insane and going, I don't even know. First of all, let's move that back down there, something like that. And then that's just basing it off of a fractal. And personally, I'm not really in the camp of doing that right now. I'm more in the camp of measuring 4.236 extensions, and I'll show you why. Even one of these examples like we're talking about here, we've been talking about with Ethereum, right? Just kind of showing what happens with these range developments and how high these go. I'll kind of get a setup over here a little bit better. There you go. There's the XRP price chart there on the left. And especially with crash, retrace, reaccumulation structures, one where you have parabolic rises followed by crashes, retrace, reaccumulation. These ones classically are 4.236 extensions. Crash, retrace, reaccumulation. Classic, it's the 4.236 extension. For the 2018 through 2021 crowd for Bitcoin, that was, classic, right? Parabolic rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, 4.236 extension. And that's just what these things tend to do, right? One of the challenges with XRP being in this range and doing it for 7 years is whether or not the market cap is going to matter or whether or not the price chart is going to matter. And so, when you're just doing this based off the actual price chart, it gets you a number up there into the 13s. I have concern about that due to it being 7 years, being inflation. XRP does not have an outrageous inflation rate. It's around 6 to 7%. That's very in range of a healthy inflation rate. I've written an entire newsletter completely dedicated to inflation rates where we go through the top 100 assets. That's totally in the sweet spot. However, if you do that over the course of 7 years, you do dilute the supply. And while a 4.236 extension over here on the price chart is about 480% away from where we are right now, the actual market cap of XRP is closer to 270% away from there. While with the current price of XRP being $2.42, if you were to rise another 270%, puts you right at about $9. In addition, if we go back and look at this thing over here, what we were talking about earlier, XRP versus Bitcoin, if you were to rise into this area, about how big of a rise is it? About 270%. It adds that confluence of that area there, 9, 10, 11, Again, that's if Bitcoin's price stayed exactly right here at $100,000 and never moved. If Bitcoin moved up to 110,000 or if Bitcoin moved down to 90,000, that would change the dynamic of the ratio of XRP versus Bitcoin. But assuming that Bitcoin stayed exactly here at $100,000 and never budged, right? Right there against like some Confluence there for like $9. Now, when XRP came in for its top back in 2017 and 2018, this was actually a very difficult measurement to be able to take in here. If you just used the actual range that it was within, it really wouldn't have gotten you anywhere. Very difficult. I've played with this many times and just kind of been like, where did the fibs actually work at? What level could you have placed it at that was like the precise hit? And obviously what it was is this big breakout came in here based off the bottom of the range to this big breakout. It went on to precisely hit the 4.236 extension beyond that. Now, what's curious about that is that range in there that we have looked at a couple of times. Does this look familiar? It should, because it's that range, right? That range eventually led to a push to higher prices to hit that level. Going back and kind of playing with Ethereum back in here as well, I was like, if we have this set up, if you do things like that, do those fibs also match up for what was going on with Ethereum over in here? Where if we use that break up to this range, do we eventually hit it? And we do. And while utilizing the same kind of concept in here for XRP with where it's at right now, where's it land you? Around 11. Now, there's one other thing that's kind of fascinating about this, and this is going to be people who have been longtime viewers of the channel, and it's talking about the rally prior to capitulation, that we actually end up having our alignments end up happening in here for the rally that happened prior to crypto capitulated back in 2022, right? Luna collapses, Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, blah, 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 everything, right? That's our capitulation. That's our rally prior to capitulation, 4.236 extension off that. People will recall we did that on Litecoin also back in 2020 and 2021. And I even had it recorded and videos specifically talking about that rally prior to capitulation and how that's one of my targets for a lot of assets is based on the rally prior to capitulation. Then when we go on into the 2021 bull run, what ends up happening? The total market cap of crypto has the rally prior to capitulation, goes on and literally hits the 4.236 extension when? The exact day Elon Musk goes on Saturday Night Live. You think that's silly? Let's go back to May of 2021. I think this is important to take notice of. The total altcoin market cap is reaching the full 4.236 extension based on the rally prior to capitulation in 2018. At the same time, Bitcoin has hit the 702 retrace. Also, Saturday Night Live is happening in less than 2 hours. The rally prior to capitulation, measuring for a 4.236 extension, ended up being the crazy way to measure that out. That was the peak. So we're talking about this kind of ludicrous kind of idea in here, being like, what if we just kind of measured based off of this guy down to here on how high we can get out? Well, because that worked back in 2017 and 2018. Well, the interesting thing about that back in 2017 and 2018 is that 236 is the range boundary for the whole thing. And that also is our range boundary in here for XRP and is the rally prior to capitulation, right? This is where the market capitulates. That's everything, right? In addition, you do that over here in Ethereum, what do you get? A perfect nail. In addition, looking at these ranges, we're talking about all of these particular ranges in here, like when we're looking at it versus Ethereum, or if we're looking at this guy, well, this is that range. This is that 2017 range that then gives you 5 waves to go on push and hit the 4.236 extension. So in the event of that, right, where does it land yet? Somewhere around $11. So no matter all the different things I'm doing, whether I'm looking at crash, retrace, reaccumulations, if I want to be creative or not creative, if I just want to be simple or be strict on how I want to do all these things, everything is telling me like somewhere between 9 and 13. But as you've seen, there's quite a few arguments for it to actually be there in the 11s. One thing that would also add the additional confluence of being in the 11s as well. It would be waves of equal length from our current location of where we're at right now, right? We've talked about waves of equal length. If we were going to go down to hit like a $1.50 in order to hit the 2021 peak on the market cap, well, that would get us right there in those nines, adding more confluence to that. But if our current low held in here, whereas a full measured move of a wave of equal length, it still lands you there right on the button at 1126 or something. So I have waves of equal length that land me on 1126. I have the rally prior to capitulation taking me to 1126, and the context in which we're using fibs in this manner aligns with what would be that measured move. And then we're over here doing all these particular ranges happening in here for XRP and what would be that moment for that type of move. I have a very difficult time thinking the price can go to $15, $16, $20, $30. I can create lots of various arguments of being in the nines or being in the 11s. I struggle really with anything beyond that. I have confluences of things like the XRP versus Bitcoin price chart that also tell me that too. 9, 10, 11. So I think that's the strongest case. The absolute simplest is just using the market cap of XRP. That gets you a little bit over $9. And then you got a couple of arguments in there to put you into the 11s. And personally, those seem like the primary targets for me. And it also gives some context on the ranges that we're looking at here for XRP and how they make sense and fit into the puzzle of everything that we're looking at in here. So it's an exciting time. I mean, you can just look at the charts yourself. I mean, everything seems pretty well set up. I think everybody will just kind of be arguing on where the top is. I know a lot of people just don't intend to do anything until it gets into the 20s or 30s. I do struggle real hard to see those prices, but wanted to give you all the arguments that I still see for, 9, 10, 11. We just got to get through this phase first. And then hopefully things are all set in motion. So as we continue to wait for the range to break and for it to finish itself up, it'd be a good idea to just kind of talk about the things that I'm looking at for after the range does end up breaking. Those are my ideas. Those are my thoughts. Those are the price levels I'm looking at and the arguments for why I'm looking at them. And hopefully it's not too far away and that we do actually end up getting them. So we'll see if this range can do anything today or tomorrow. I'll check in with you guys again tomorrow morning and markets in the morning. Till then, of course, you could check out my newsletter over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. The most recent one was just published last week, The Crypto Parabola of 2025, Extensions, Mania, and Climatic Peaks, talking about key signals and confluences to watch as crypto pushes for new heights. Includes a 31-minute audio recording that I personally recorded, and of course, you get access to all the past ones and the past audio recordings if you sign up for the newsletter. Also, you could check out my website, bcbacker.com, with over 40 videos and 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up your own charts and indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro. There are links in the descriptions of each of my videos to bcbacker.com and to the newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, we continue twiddling our thumbs, we wait for the range to end, and then we'll have a lot to talk about. But otherwise, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.